Alright, here we go. This is Router here, and there's a couple videos that I need to make before I die, I guess, in my very unsophisticated channel here. One of them is finally, I think I figured out how to make the ideal sort of version of tuna fish. And this is something that I've been working on for a while, meaning years. It's been years in the making, so I'm going to share my recipe with you, which is really not too bad. And I've done some of the preliminary things that we needed to do here. I've gotten the extra juices out of the tuna fish, and I've mortared and pestled whatever I needed to mortar and pestled here. So here we go. Basically all you need is a knife, and one of the things I have to say, really these flexible cutting boards are really where it's at, because when you're going to put things into a bowl, look, you just can't beat this. You just cannot, you can't mess with that. Okay, so I mean, if anything from this video you take, these flexible cutting boards are, if you're going to put something in a bowl like that's relatively small, forget about it, because you know if you're using a big flat cutting board, this is just crazy trying to scoop everything out and get it in. So alright, so the first step to making ideal tuna fish is you got to choose a decent version of tuna fish. You cannot be using some kind of crazy off-brand. You really got to go for something. Now I guess Bumblebee, or what's that other brand? There's another brand, Chicken of the Sea, you know. Those two I think are the primary brands. What I find the best, gives me the best results, is this Chunk Light tuna in the green can. And usually I stay away from green colored stuff because it reminds me of decaffeinated coffee. And usually when they color things with off colors like that, it's like, oh, you got to stay away from it. But I think in this case we're okay. I've been using this for a while. I don't even know what Chunk Light means. All right, it seems to have been like sort of pre-chewed or something, or pre-cut up for us. I'm not sure, but the quality seems to be a little bit better than the regular whatever. Now, in oil or water, I don't know. I really don't. I guess my opinion is water, just because that's what I've used. I used oil once, and I can't remember why, but I wasn't happy with it. So let's just say my recipe would be water, but I don't know if that's a necessary deal there. Alright, so the first thing we do is we empty these out. Now remember, we don't want to waste anything, so if you have a cat, they're going to be very happy if you just sort of put this over to the side for them. My cat's sleeping, so she's going to miss out, and I don't like this stuff sitting around, so right away I'm going to just sort of rinse that out. You can probably hear in the background. We're a low production deal here, so I'm not going to try to not do any cutting or editing here. I just want to make this video because I want to give the information out to the people of the world before I die, so somebody knows how to make decent tuna fish, because that's sort of been a question to a lot of people, and for me it was a question. What kind of tuna fish really is the ideal tuna fish? Well, I don't know if this is ideal, but this is a pretty good program that I got going on here. Now, of course, my mom, she used to cut the tuna fish. She used to pull out a food processor. You know, I've seen other people use actually just the edges of the can to cut the stuff. I find with, I forgot to talk about the knife. Anyway, I find just cutting things up with a knife is a really good thing. Of course, you got to wash your hands, keep everything clean. Now, I just want to say, this knife, this is an excellent knife. This is a Victorinox. You can get this on Amazon. I don't think it's more than $30. It's probably even cheaper than that. Probably maybe in the 20s. But this is an excellent knife. It's a stainless knife, and this is my go-to knife when I'm cutting something like this. I have a couple of big knives like this, but this stays really sharp. And when you're cutting up, okay, so that's enough of the knife. Anyway, so the cutting board and the knife and the bowl, whatever, right? Just use whatever bowl makes you happy. I like glass because glass just makes me feel, you know, like nothing's getting absorbed into it or absorbed out of it. It's, you know, I mean, you know, all you can do with glass is pretty much break it. I mean, you can do other stuff with it, but pretty much. So you just cut this up, just do your best. Now this Chunk Light seems, like I said, it's already been chewed or something. But I still like to give it some cut, you know, I like to just kind of cut it up a little bit. Now the thing about this thing about cutting up or breaking down the tuna fish is that the tuna fish, I found, if you cut it too much, you can the texture, you don't want to like puree it, because then something is just, I don't know, something just doesn't seem right about it on the sandwich. And of course, big chunks, people don't like big chunks either. And the other thing, now I have to throw this out, hold on a second. Oh, damn it. I guess I'm going to have to edit this video. I just hear some noise over there. I got to go deal with something. Hang on. Oh, jeez Louise. Alright, you get this thing with these Windows updates. Now, like if you were browsing something on YouTube and you restart the computer because there was an update, the damn computer, without even logging in, starts playing some video. It's very inconvenient. I don't like it. They shouldn't have done that. I know you can shut it off, but every time there's an update, it turns itself back damn on. Alright. Where were we? We were talking about tuna fish and cutting it up. Okay, so we're at the preliminary stages of the tuna fish. Now, at this point, what people typically do is they'll take some mayonnaise, throw it on the tuna fish, and call it good. Now, you can do that, but I found that it's kind of lacking. Now, other people will do things like cut up onions and celery and things. I found that most people don't like sort of little pieces of diced onions and other types of things in the tuna. Some of us are fine with it. In my opinion is that, if you're gonna have onions and something, I want the big pieces. I want it like on a hamburger, the big half round pieces of onion, so oh, this is an onion. It's not like some little tiny thing that can get stuck somewhere in the middle of your teeth or something. So in that case, what I'll use is some spices instead of the actual. I'm going to just use this and then some spices, I guess is what I'm saying. Now, I'm going to go in a particular order. Now, the first thing that you have to put on tuna fish, you just have to, is pepper. Everybody's got pepper. Now, I found tuna fish is like beef, whereas you really have to put a lot on there for somebody to say, hey, there's too much pepper in here. So you can be pretty liberal with the pepper going on to tuna fish. But you don't want to get too crazy because, of course, you can overdo anything. So, I mean, if you're going to stop there and then put the mayonnaise is like guaranteed, right? You got to put mayonnaise in there. So this actually is a vast improvement from just mayonnaise. But I have some other ingredients that I like to put in here. Now, one of the things I like to put in here is a celery salt. Now, it's actually kind of cheap, right? That's like a Mr. Cheapo, instead of actually getting real celery, but it really does the job. It takes care of, we're talking about flavor. Like one of the things we want to do is and you just kind of got to, you got to, like Luke Skywalker, you got to flip up the goggles and say, go with the Force. I mean, how much you put in? I don't know. You put enough. You're going to do 1 can, you're going to do 2 cans. I don't know. You got to keep track of what you already put on, so you got to put these to the side. The second thing I like to put in here is sort of on the same line, and it's some onion powder. I know, cheap again. But it gives the flavor that you're looking for. How much? The same thing. I mean, all this stuff. You got to do the Luke Skywalker thing. You got to take the goggles off and go with the Force and feel it out. Now, another thing that maybe a lot of people don't use is I'll use actually ground mustard in here. And the thing is I'm afraid to put too much. But to tell you the truth, I've never actually tasted the ground mustard in there. But it does something to the flavor. I believe it adds some flavor. This is not going to be complicated. This is just a couple of ingredients. Now, of course, you got to have some parsley, right? I mean, and of course, you got to do the Luke Skywalker thing again. So you just kind of throw some of them bad boys on there. And then another thing that I throw on there is cream of tartar. All right? And it's not tartar sauce, but it's sort of a, it's like the mustard. It's like the ground mustard. You don't really taste it. And a lot of these things, if you can taste them, you've put too much in. Now, here's where something more interesting comes into play. I like to take dill seed and cumin. Yes, cumin. And mortar and pestle and mortar them. You can see I don't have a ton here. Now, the thing is I'm using seeds here, right? So you got dill seeds that are just, they're just the seeds. And then you have the cumin, which is pretty much, it almost looks just like the dill. It's seeds again. But you got to get these ratios right. Now, this cumin here, you got to be real. If you're going to go off and use cumin, you got to be careful about this stuff. You can do a lot. You can put too much or too little and get away with it and be okay with the dill. But the cumin, so the ratio of cumin to dill has got to be very steep. I would say like maybe 1 or 2 seeds of cumin for like 10 or 15 seeds of dill. I mean, right, a very steep ratio. And the cumin is something, if you taste it in your tuna fish, you probably put too much in because it's just there on the periphery. And actually this amount here, which is not a huge amount, is probably more than I want to put in this 2 cans of tuna fish. So I'm just gonna spread a little, no, I don't know, some kind of damn thing. What the hell, let's just take our chances. Alright, so again, you know, I had to flip up the goggles. Now, that's pretty much it for the ingredients that are going to go into this. Now, what I do now is what I was talking about before. You got to take the advantage that this cutting board gives you. Oh man, I hope I don't mess this up. And you got to go with the flow here. Oh boy, man, I'm afraid of doing something bad here because, you know, the camera and everything. Anyway, this does present an incredible advantage when you are moving stuff into a bowl. I can't even express it. There are no words. Now, see, there's a little too much moisture in here. Maybe I should have let some of that moisture out. Okay, so alright, so then what you want to do, obviously, is you're going to work this stuff in here. Now, I'm a little concerned about how much of the water, the moisture is still in here. Now, one thing you can do, which I never do, is just let this sort of sit and dry out a little bit. Another strategy that you can do is you can move this around while it's still on here, move it, dry it with a paper towel, move it, dry it with it, and that's actually a pretty effective way. Actually, I probably should have done that. It's a pretty effective way to get the moisture out, like just tapping it down, getting the moisture, moving the pile here back and forth, and then constantly wiping up the moisture. Actually, that is pretty effective at getting that residual moisture out. And the reason that the moisture is a problem is because the last thing you want to have in your tuna fish is, like, after you store it for a day or two, is a little pool of, like, you know, like liquid in the center of your tuna fish or something. That's, although there's nothing wrong with it, right? As we get the mustard and ketchup and you mix it up in the same deal and you're good. But you just don't want to see it. And the other thing is that will interfere with the next ingredient, which is olive oil, right? You got to put some olive oil on here. Now, you can't use regular olive oil. You have to use extra virgin olive oil. If you're going to use the other type of olive oil, like regular olive oil, you really, either you don't want to use it or you want to use very little of it. But the extra virgin, the taste, I mean, okay, so how much of this are we going to use? The extra virgin just has a lighter, more delicate taste to it that's more suited to raw foods. So typically the virgin stuff I'll use for salads or for something like this, and the other stuff I'll use for, like, if I'm cooking something. So I go really easy on this, especially what I was talking about before with the extra moisture that's in there, that it doesn't really interact with the olive oil too well. So, and we'll see how, we're gonna have to just see how this goes. I can smell it. So then now what happens is the smell that you get out of here, this is not like your typical fish smell now, right? This now, I'm smelling a little bit of onion, I can smell the olive oil, the dill, which is, you know, basically your pickle taste, has got some of that smell coming out. And when you mortar and pestle, whatever, when you mortar and pestle or you crush that stuff up and use the freshly ground pepper, it really, you know, you're really getting like the essence of these things out into your food. So, you know, so I'm just trying to work the olive oil in. I always, in the back of my mind, I'm always concerned, am I really spreading that olive oil throughout the tuna fish that I want? Now, is that enough olive oil? I don't know. I mean, it's another Luke Skywalker deal. So I just, you know, maybe not the whole teaspoon. So I'm just gonna kind of get that in there, and that's it. That's all the olive oil I'm going to put in. Because remember, when you're making your sandwich, or I mean, that's what I do. I make sandwiches out of this stuff. You can always put more olive oil on the lettuce on the bottom of the sandwich. Or you can just put olive oil or any of these ingredients you can add to the sandwich. Now, what it is you want to make this so that there's nothing missing. You want to make it so that the tuna fish just tastes good. I wouldn't put any salt in here. That's just something... I mean, there was something in here, right? Onion salt or some onion powder. Oh, celery salt, right? So I guess there was salt in there. I don't ever put salt in this stuff. I'm not an anti-salt person. I love salt, and I feel bad for people who think that they have to have a war against salt. But in this particular situation, I just never felt the need to put salt, and I've never had tuna fish after I've made it and say, oh geez, that needs salt. So at this point, what you can do is you can put it in the fridge and let it dry out a little bit if you want. I'm not going to worry about it. The last ingredient basically is going to be the mayonnaise, because we know mayonnaise. Now this is kind of weird, right? Because mayonnaise is usually the first thing people put in this stuff. But to me, in order to mix this properly, you don't want this. That's why I put the liquid, the olive oil and the mayonnaise last, because I wanted to give everything else the opportunity to sort of mix. Now I can put this stuff in here. And with the mayonnaise, what you want to do is you want to be careful. The worst thing is putting too much mayonnaise. You make all kinds of things wrong with the world if you put in too much mayonnaise. So you're better off putting in too little mayonnaise, and again, on the sandwich. And in fact, this is a strategy I've seen some people do to make tuna fish taste better, is to put some mayonnaise on the slices of bread of the sandwich, which it makes sense. It's, you know, it does add something, but it's really not. You know, what you're trying to do is you're trying to circumvent any funky sort of fishy, because tuna fish is not, I mean, obviously it's fish, but it's something that we don't want fishiness from. We don't really want, fishy tuna is just, it's just not, look at that, see how, this is what I was talking about before with the moisture. I don't even know if I'm going to put more mayonnaise in here. I didn't put that much mayonnaise in here to begin with. I mean, the worst thing is too much mayonnaise, right? So you put some olive oil in there, the mayonnaise. You got these three essentially liquid type. Let's just say mayonnaise is a liquid, just for the sake of argument. These three sort of things. You got the natural moisture, and now if you have, you know, the oil, that's what it is. That's why I don't like the oil tuna fish, because it messes with the olive oil. Right. If you use tuna fish, that I should have. Okay, so you're gonna have to watch this video all the way through to get actually all my points. And now I realize what the hell I was doing. Yeah, the water-based tuna fish allows you to segregate your ingredients, you know, and basically allows you to get the most out of the particular oil, because you're going to want some kind of oil, and in this case, obviously, I think I'm going to put just a touch. Now, I don't want to contaminate. See, now, if you're by yourself, you can sort of lick off that spoon, you know, and then I'll wipe it off, right? So it's sort of clean. Maybe a microscope or something, they'll find something on there. But if nobody's around, you can just lick it off and actually get a taste of it. So now I'm even concerned that was too much. I'm a little concerned that was too much mayonnaise, which was not even a teaspoonful. And that's it. I'm definitely not putting more mayonnaise in there than that. And and another trick that I do is most people keep tuna fish in the counter, which of course you can, but I find you put the tuna fish in the refrigerator, so that when you make it right here, you don't have to wait another hour and a half or 2 hours for it to get cold. It's already cold, right? The mayonnaise was cold, the tuna fish was cold. So now this is actually pretty cold here. And there's just something funky about like room temperature tuna fish that It's just not right. It just doesn't sit right with me. Now, if you do happen to be using room temperature tuna fish, one of the tricks that I do is I will actually move it into a sort of a bowl inside of a bowl like this. And what that does is it allows you, and I'll actually put it in the freezer to do it really quick, or just a refrigerator with the top on it. But it allows this to get colder a little quicker. And, you know, this is the center, right? We don't want anything pooling in there because that's just funky. So that's pretty much it. What else? Is there anything else you could do to that? Talked about the cumin, pepper. Okay, so if you want to do it just like without all this crazy ingredient, right? Because I had cream of tartar in here, and okay, so let's just get this. So we have cream of tartar, we have celery salt. Just you know, let's take an inventory. You know, parsley flakes. We have some cumin. Now the cumin you could think of as optional. But the cumin really puts sort of an interesting edge on it. And if you put just a little bit in there, people won't even know why it tastes good. They just, oh, geez, this tastes good. What did you do to that? Or I don't know what did you do to make that? They won't know, and you'll forget. What else? Oh yeah, and of course, our pepper. You know, our pepper. We love pepper. Don't forget pepper. Pepper is critical. If you put nothing else in there aside from the mayonnaise, or even if you don't put mayonnaise in there, pepper and olive oil are really critical. Don't forget olive oil. I'm not showing it. But these are essentially the ingredients that I put in there. Mayonnaise, of course. Well, I guess I didn't put everything out there. But these are the primary, this is the primary deal. Now, my girlfriend, the love of my life, the finest I ever met, is an Indian chick, and she's telling me all the time to put chili powder in there. I have not had the courage to do that yet. And she's a vegetarian. So she don't even have to eat it. She doesn't have to suffer the consequences. I'm throwing it out there to you because maybe you want to put chili powder in your tuna fish, but that's not something I would want to do. This is basically the finished product. I mean, it looks like any other tuna fish, but the taste is you're gonna be very happy. You're gonna get that deli taste. You're gonna get that gourmet taste. And of course, anything you want to put in there, right? You want to chop up some onions or put some eggs or some whatever in there. But this is my recipe. This is something I've worked on for years. That does taste pretty good, and this is how I do it when I do it, with variations here and there. This is optional, in my mind is optional, but I put it in this version. Oh, sorry, the cumin is optional. When I was talking about, I might have picked up the dill and said cumin, but dill is actually, these two are optional. The dill really shouldn't be optional. It's really something that really does add to that taste. The cumin really puts a dimension to it. The cumin with the dill really puts a dimension. The ground mustard and the cream of tartar, I can't even tell that it's in there, but I know it does have an effect on the taste, and the taste is just outstanding. And the deal is like when you have friends over, you make somebody a sandwich, you just want them to eat it and say, oh man, this is like some of the best tuna I've ever had. And you don't want any delicatessen or anywhere to have better tuna than, or any better food than you can actually make, right? Okay, so this was one of my life's missions. I needed to make tuna, I needed to share my tuna fish recipe with the world, and I think now the world is better off. And I can't, well, I have a couple more videos. Actually, I smoked for 26 years, and there's some people who might be seeing this video who knew me before I smoked, but I was a heavy smoker. Well, a pack a day, a pack and a half a day for 26 years. 2 years ago, I quit. I just went cold turkey. And one of my other videos is talking about quitting smoking. And I have to tell you what, that was one of the craziest things it was a good thing. It was one of the best. And I haven't smoked, I haven't touched, I don't have any desire to go back, and I will not go back. So that's like another video maybe I'll make at some point. I think I have to, almost as important as this tuna fish video is the not how to quit smoking, but how I quit smoking video, and I did it cold turkey. And here's just throwing it out there for anybody who smokes. You get these fools out there talking about you know, oh yeah, you just get hypnotized, and you know, it's an oral fixation and all this. That's garbage. Smoking is a chemical dependency that took me 3 months to get. I mean, from the moment I stopped smoking, no patches, no gum. I mean, nicotine stopped entering my body on July 8th, 2016, and I've not had any nicotine enter my body since then. Which says, and vaping is no answer. When you stop taking that chemical, your body and nature, okay, I guess I'm going to, just let me finish. It wages war against you, and that is a serious, serious deal. But you can taste your tuna fish better. Okay, anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and go out there and make the world better. Thanks a lot.